Mohandas Pai, do you believe there's a startup scandal?
This is corporate fraud, corporate theft, and a criminal offense.
Oh, wow. I also like to welcome in Manish Jain, who's co-founder and CEO of FLO Mobility. Manish, can I go to you, please, if you don't mind here? You know?
Absolutely. I've been waiting.
So
I think let's just get this context right? What is Gensol? Gensol, is it a startup? It started in 2007 as an EPC financing company, right? BluSmart started in 2019, and BluSmart was challenging Uber and Ola, right? With there is an innovation, right? I think this definition of innovation we say that Indian startups are not innovative, right? There was a fantastic business model innovation that BluSmart did by bringing in EVs, right? And then to compete with Ola and Uber, you need a fleet. For getting the fleet, you need capital, right? And Gensol was an entity. There was a related party transaction, which is completely incorrect. But the business model was that Gensol will give the fleets, will lease the fleet to to BluSmart, and then they did a phenomenal job. I think within 2 to 3 years, they got 10 to 15% of market share. People vouch by the service quality that BluSmart was giving. Cabs were not getting cancelled, right? So they really disrupted the industry where you already had Uber and Ola.
No, but Manish, any comments? Manish? 17% of all supercars are bought by startup founders.
So Arnab, all of us are one thing very clearly we are saying that there's a scope of improvement. We have to tighten our diligence. We have to tighten our startup governance. But we keep saying that let's not paint everybody with the same brush. But that's exactly what we are doing again and again.
No, why can't there be a rule to stop an exit till 5 years after IPO? If you want to exit, you exit 5 years after IPO, not on first day valuation.
So, Arnab, first of all, right, once somebody does an IPO, should we still call it a startup, right? Let's just understand this context, right? What is a startup? You start with a very novel idea. You take risk capital, which it was P and VC do, right? P and VC is a risk capital. It's a high risk capital because you don't know how things will pan out, right? Then the company scales up, and there's one point when company does the IPO.
Flipkart, 1 minute. Let me give you a point. Flipkart burned through 3.7 billion, that's 30,000 crore in just over a year, making it the biggest cash burn by any new age company in India. The funds were completely exhausted in a year and a half.
Amazon took 20 years to become profitable because they were disrupting the industry.
But they were Amazon. Where's the Amazon in India? If you're burning this kind of money, where's the Amazon? Where's the SpaceX? Where's the Starlink? Where's the OpenAI? Where is the Neuralink?
I think why are we not talking about tech startup? Why are we not talking about robotic startup, quantum startups that are happening in India?
You're saying it will take time.
The capital deficiency.
You're saying it will take time. I agree with you on that.
Here we don't have capital. But what we are doing is, there is a company which is IPO company having retail investors' money, does a fraud, and title of a debate is startup scandal. It should be Gensol scandal, right? Why title of debate is startup scandal?
Why is it startup scandal? Okay, I plead guilty for that. I plead guilty, but it's a scandal in the startup world.
That's okay, but what we are saying is that all startup founders have Lamborghinis, all VCs have Porsches. That is what we are saying, right? We are not.
No, I'm not saying that. For God's sake, where did I say all investors have Lamborghinis? Did you hear Mohandas Pai drives a 14-year-old car?
That's what we said. He's not, but that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Why are we saying that all founders have Lamborghini again and again?
I'm not saying that. Suhail is saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. Suhail said all this.
Mohandas Pai is again. Mahatma Gandhi. It takes a lot to keep Mohandas Pai poor.
Oh, please.